Hey everyone, my name is Neil Karski and I'm the CEO of Patient Engine, a seven-figure digital marketing, lead conversion, and coaching agency for high-ticket aesthetics providers. And I would like to personally welcome you to the Aesthetics Millionaires show, where we sit down with industry entrepreneurs to talk about their personal journeys and discuss proven growth strategies. My genuine hope is that through this podcast, we can create more success stories in this industry and help more business owners scale past their competition. Enjoy the show.
Thank you guys for coming on today. We got Gina and Dr. Kyle Holmes today. They're the owners of Sonoma MD in Sonoma, California. Guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you. So let's just dive right in. I want to understand how you guys got into aesthetics. You own a very successful family business. You guys are an amazing client of mine at Patient Engine. You've grown tremendously in the last few years, but I want to get to the core and start there first. What got you into aesthetics? What got you into creating this awesome family business you have today?
You should probably start. You kind of started back in Wisconsin,
I
right?
did. I came from the Midwest, came from Wisconsin, and I used to work with a plastic surgeon. I used to help close faces while the surgeon was working on the other half. And he taught me a lot of my skills. It was fun. I loved it. And then I came to California and I brought that with me. So, yeah.
And then when did you come to California?
See, we moved in 2011.
You moved in
It's been
2011. And then what happened? What the point of this show too is to explore the origins and then the driving forces behind
my
entrepreneurship
journey.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And we kind of met in primary care. So I was
right.
doing kind of the same thing, sort of dabbling a little bit with interest in cosmetics medicine with hair removal and starting to get more into the injectables. And then we met 10, 12 years ago. And she was doing kind of the same thing. And we just sort of built off of each other. You know, she knew a lot of things I didn't know. I knew some things she didn't know, and we started combining them. Decided, let's just run this as a business, and we started helping people with this.
When did you guys open the business?
Let's
17?
see, 2017.
Yeah.
2017. So let's kind of rewind back a little bit and talk about the early days, because those are, we can't forget those, right? Because they're usually
Definitely
the toughest years of starting a business isn't easy. Once you have a business, I think it can be very lucrative. It can be very rewarding. It gives you an opportunity to help a lot of people feel and look better. So it is definitely produces a lot of impact, but it also is tough, right? It's very challenging. So let's talk about the early days of starting in a medical aesthetics business. Walk me through it.
My little funny story, and then yours.
Oh, sure.
So mine was initially back in 2015. A friend of mine was doing some laser hair removal, which I thought was pretty interesting. So I decided to study it and get into also. Back then, it was pretty early, and the machines didn't have any protocols. So my first machine came with the engineer who built it. He flew from Israel with it, set it up, and then asked me how to use it. So what are the settings, doctor? And I said, well, I guess we're going to have to learn together. So talking to other experts and with him, we gradually put the protocols together. And my protocols actually were the ones that were written for one of the first hair removal machines a long time ago. So that's kind of how it kicked off. And then we just went from one topic to the next, started to learn how to do injectables and doing fellowships with other doctors that were doing it and going to a lot of different conferences.
Yeah, we're
Courses.
always training. Like every month we've got something going on. We're traveling, gaining any sort of insight in the latest and greatest in technology and safety. We're really concerned about safety, as I hope everybody would be. And we try to talk to the reps. They can be a great advocate in this realm. They can set you up with trainings. So we're able to sometimes really cost effectively get trainings from the reps and the companies themselves. And then we just go to, conferences on different content, mostly aesthetics. Some are more functional medicine based. That's more my experience in like hormone and like functional medicine, root cause medicine kind of stuff. So I have that in my background, but aesthetics is really my passion.
That's kind of interesting thing. A lot of people don't know that there is no pathway specifically in medicine if you want to be a cosmetics physician. So you can do a residency in pediatrics or surgery, whatever, but there's no such thing as a residency in just cosmetics. So plastic surgeons will do that, but their main orientation is towards surgery. If you want to do just cosmetics with the lasers and injectables, Botox and fillers, then that's something that you're going to have to kind of put together yourself, training with other doctors and attending lots and lots of conferences and training programs.
Got it. Yeah, that's good advice. So let's kind of let's build a story up a little bit. So you guys you got together. You said, "Hey, we're a good fit for each other personally and professionally," and then you said, "Hey, we're going to introduce a service, and we're going to add on more services. We're going to learn how to do them. We're going to learn how to do them safely, effectively, get our clients results." So getting clients results is a big thing, but what's another issue is getting new customers, right? So, or getting new patients in the door. So let's walk through some of those early days of maybe trial and tribulation of how you guys how you build your brand, how you started getting new customers in the door when you first started. I know for us, we typically, when we have a client that comes to work with us at Patient Engine, it's somebody who's either newer, who's a startup, who's like, I really want to grow. I want to grow as fast as possible, or somebody who's already grown through other means, who's like, now I'm ready just to take this thing to the next level. So you guys you were the latter. You came to us, you already had an established practice. You just wanted to continue to grow your patient base. So I kind of want to, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I want to talk about the early days and the first, call it, I think we've been working together since 2022, that latter part of 2022, or maybe 2020, early days of 23. So it's been, I think, a year and a half or so. So let's talk about the days before that, because 2018 to 2020, you guys were building out your services more, and then 2020 is, I believe, if I remember correctly, is when your true growth started. So talk to me about the mechanisms behind your growth.
Well, here's what not to do. So at the very beginning, you're kind of desperately trying to get your little business going and not sure if it's ever going to get off the ground. You try everything. Well, we were doing things like, had my kids going to parking lots with flyers and putting it under windshield wipers, and talking to friends and having them refer their friends, renting space on park benches and at the local baseball fields to put flyers up. And those were not very effective. Even ads in newspapers and so forth. None of those things seemed to get any traction for us until we figured out the digital.
And that was also, I kind of predated some digital, social media, right? You're talking days.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, when it was more paper or radio. And we really built up a lot by word of mouth. We have a small town. There's not much in this area. And that's huge. So you got to really, be cognizant of the fact that it is a small town. You got to be really careful to not, upset somebody, and, definitely be nice when don't tailgate people on the roads,
Yeah. Well, critical to make sure that they're happy too. I mean, we're obsessed with making sure our patients have excellent outcomes and that they're happy. So if something is not going well with a patient, we don't let them leave. We will tackle them and drag them back in until they're happy. And that is a very important thing, because once they're happy, you're going to pick up a lot of customers off of that. If you make one unhappy customer, you literally will lose a lot of people too. So it's not always the hunt for new people. It's take care of the people that you have, because that's where your next customer is coming from.
Right. And we do follow-up calls with everybody just to make sure, that we didn't miss anything and that they're completely satisfied. And even if there's like a little bit of a hesitation on the phone, well, everything was great, but then we have them come back and we just say, just come on back in. We'll take care of it. Let's take a look. Patients love that. And they always comment about how no other clinic does that. But Sam's really good at doing the follow-up calls.
Yeah. I know when we did our webinar with Sam, she stressed that a lot. I opened my spa in March, and I think that's something we definitely need to do a better job is follow-up calls, because people do appreciate that extra step, that extra care, that extra attention. Like, how are you doing? How are you doing post-treatment? And
that you really care. Yeah.
Like, I think the big point was like, hey, even if they don't buy at the time, they remember that so much that I know you guys have had a different sales approach, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. We covered it with Sam before, but an important point of that was that a lot of these people they didn't commit to the next appointment at the time, but after the follow-up call, they commit to that appointment because they're like, they've had such a great experience.
Yeah.
They've gotten results, or they've gotten at least had an amazing experience, and they're waiting for the results to settle in. But they're like, wow, these providers really care, and they want us to, really feel that they care, and that led to a lot of retention for you guys.
Yeah, that made a big difference. It's that Oprah Winfrey comment. People a lot of times won't remember what you said. They probably won't remember what you did, but they will definitely remember the way you made them feel. And that's pretty key. So, yeah.
So I know I keep going back, but I want to be able to build a really clear, cohesive story of you guys' journey. You said you tried some digital stuff. What worked for you guys to being able, because when we started working with you guys were a 7-figure business. You were doing about 120, 130K a month, which is a very important accomplishment. So before that, what got you there? You said word of mouth, really just building a good community image and doing, getting in front of people out in your community and getting them amazing results. I assume that word of mouth led to a lot of referrals, right?
Yeah, pretty big. We did a couple of little magazine spots. They did a really nice one in the Sonoma magazine that kind of profiled us as a family business and had some nice photos and a pretty long narrative, several pages, kind of describing what we do. And a lot of clients referred to that. So it's kind of it's probably the biggest magazine in town, right? So
I think so, yeah.
that's probably the only print that we do. And then the digital stuff that Samantha does, she's excellent, and it's not just coming up with one great perfect ad. It's the daily, weekly, steady drumbeat that you're just out there all the time that seems to help.
I agree. And you've been able to help with that.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Yeah, so I know, every market's a little bit different, right? And you guys aren't not in a big city. I think there's a lot more competition in a big city. So I think it's important to bring up that even if you're in a big city, you have to make sure that, one, you're advertising to the mass to the mass audience, mass market, but you're also creating a footprint within your community. And I think that's what I'm getting out of this, is that you guys were really good about magazines. I haven't heard magazines in a long time, but I guess maybe in Sonoma, people
a little bit, a little bit.
And also, this particular one, it caters to our clientele. So it's on a specific side of town where most of our clientele come from, and it's almost like a social thing here to be in that magazine. So, but yeah, it does seem kind of yesterday, but it works here. The who's who of Sonoma are in that magazine. So
Very
we made sure we were,
right.
yeah.
Targeted advertising through print. Yeah. I like it. So, word of mouth, community. Have you guys done any community outreach in a sense? getting
We were
out
in
in front of the community?
not much. There was the People's Choice Awards,
Mhm.
and we won that for the town. They had a little reception, and lots of little speeches, and we showed up to that, and a lot of people referred to that they remember that. We've done a couple of open houses that were surprisingly successful. And that was Samantha. She's pretty
Yeah,
good at that
she's
stuff.
great at that.
So she brought a lot of people in, and the open houses actually are our biggest sale day. So we sell lots and lots of product and schedule people, on that particular day. So those are pretty huge too. Let me do two of those a year.
Gotcha. So just to recap, you guys have been pretty patient with building your business, I would assume, right? You're very what I'm understanding, you've kind of you wanted to be able to provide a really excellent level of service to your clients. You started out pretty small, but quickly ramped up with word of mouth, referrals, magazine, getting in front of your community, doing a absolutely great job getting your clients amazing results, getting them to come back. And then it's awesome. And then you built a 7-figure practice, which is phenomenal. It's what everybody in aesthetics wants. So we started working together about a year and a half ago. We're doing body sculpting. We then realized that I think that facial aesthetics is going to be a lot more effective for your business model. And you guys have had absolutely tremendous retention or conversion in a sense. And for you, I'm a big proponent or advocate of selling treatment plans and getting that high ROI right off the bat. But for you guys, it's been a little bit more, I don't want to say conservative, but less aggressive on the sales front, but more so focusing on customer experience and getting your clients amazing results and making them feel appreciated, like you said, and cared for. And it's been more so like, hey, rebook, come back for another visit, come back for another treatment. Here's the protocol we want you to follow, and you've had that approach has worked really well for you guys. So maybe you guys can chat a little bit more about that.
I think what has helped significantly is blending both of we have the aesthetic space and like with estheticians, the spa, more medis, or more the, what do you call it? Like the
The
facials and
facial
the chemical.
rejuvenation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have each encounter when we do our advertisement with you, meet with them for the first part of their visit, and then meet with the medical side. So each patient encounter gets two, one-on-one visits, and they have two people talking to them about their skin goals, and they get to experience both sides. So
And
they
they're
may
physically separated too.
they are
Actually
so
across the hall. So the esthetician will see somebody and do a facial or a peel, and almost 100% of the time they're going to say, "You've got something here that you need to go over to the other side and talk to the doctor about." You get some brown spots. We have a laser that can fix that. And the same thing happens from our side. So we'll be treating somebody, injecting some wrinkles, and notice, oh, you've got some actinic keratoses or some dry skin. We need to set you up with our esthetician. So those two sides kind of play off of each other. And that was a big builder also for our business.
hmm But that's how we incorporated your advertising, is to do both. So
Right.
we made sure each.
I love that ad. It's simple, but it's highly effective because it allows you to give that patient visibility, like you said, to both of your sides of the coin, right? The facial aesthetics and then the anti-aging and injectables and stuff like that. So, in a really thorough consultation, addresses all things, right? Because we are, the whole idea of the offer is just to attract somebody who has specific pain points, right? They want to look better, they want to feel better, they want to there's so many different pain points with facial aesthetics, rejuvenation, anti-aging, aesthetics, surfacing, wrinkles, all that stuff. So a thorough consultation addresses all of those things, let's chat about consultation. The art of consultation is extremely important in aesthetics. So what differentiates you guys in your consultation process?
Well, it's pretty comprehensive. That's a great thing about Gina and her training is we can go off into other areas. If somebody's got questions about some medical conditions and they want to talk
Yeah.
about their thyroid or they're worried about replacement hormone therapy and breast cancer risk, we're not just people that just do Botox, so
Yeah.
we can talk to them about that, and they really enjoy to have, that they can have those conversations, and then talk about a little skin lesion. So yeah, you've got a lot of breadth and depth to our
Right.
offer.
I'm also a nutritionist. I'm not really actively practicing any I don't do nutrition consults really, but to his point, if a patient's in the chair, because we are one system, it's not just a skin problem, it's just a skin problem. It could be a gut problem too. So I can talk to the patient about how that could correlate somehow, and they just sit there like, wow, that somehow matters.
They
Maybe
weren't
their
expecting that.
acne,
Yeah.
yeah, it could be related to dairy or whatever. And so it may not just be very narrow sighted. We can kind of give them more of an approach that makes sense and that they realize how comprehensive,
Got whole body approach.
yeah, whole body approach.
And then the whole, the spectrum of intensity too. It's like, you can go to Target and you can get your hardware and you can buy your groceries and you can get your kid toys. We're kind of like that. Because we'll take care of the lighter aesthetics things if you just want a facial or a microdermabrasion. But if you want to move beyond that and get laser treatments or multifracs or resurfix type treatments that are much more intense, you can do that too without going to 2 or 3 different clinics.
Right. I want to know more about the consultation, guys, because I feel like you're holding it back. You're holding it back. So I know you said that you do a holistic consultation, which is great. I want to know what happens when somebody comes in the door. I want to know what your intake forms kind of look like. I want to know what are some of the key questions you guys ask the client. I want to know why more people say yes to you after the consultations. How do you present them with a treatment plan or your recommendations? And then we'll talk about the follow-up again, because that's one of the key things that has helped you guys with your amazing retention and growth in the last year and a half. But I know I ask a lot of questions, but I want to know more.
We do have an actual forum, so it's templated. So we and I think we all kind of start out the same way. We don't sit down and look at it and say, well, this is what you need. We say, what's bothering you? What's your interest today? When you get up in the morning and look at the mirror, what's the first thing your eyes go to? What brought you in here? And that's usually all it takes. And then they'll have 3 or 4 things that they're just going to point out right away. I don't like this red spot on my nose. I got bags under my eyes, and I got these wrinkles. So that it gets us started at that point. We can address almost anything. Some of them we can't address well enough, and they require a plastic surgeon because some skin laxity you just can't tighten up. But just about everything else we can address in one way or another, and you kind of do it the same way. You sit down with a template, right?
Yeah, and once we walk in, we introduce ourselves and ask them how they heard about us if they're new, and do the niceties, and then we hand them a mirror and say, what seems to be your concern. We don't say what bothers you, or we don't do it in a negative. We just kind of try to put the ball in their court, and we also don't offer our suggestions right away, because what if they didn't notice this thing, but they really hate this thing, and to us we're like, oh gosh, but that's really, so we don't want to. We want to start out on a positive note. And
I love that hairy mole. I've had since I was a child. What do you mean it's ugly?
Yeah, and also compliment them on the beautiful things that you see, all the particulars that make them a beautiful person. That way they feel, they're automatically in I don't know what the word would be, but they feel more uplifted and not like, oh gosh, they notice that I didn't realize I had all these problems, and then they all of a sudden feel kind of like, oh, I'm a hopeless cause, or. So we give them the mirror and just ask them to kind of keep it kind of open-ended and just let them lead the conversation. And then we offer our suggestions.
Yeah, I think we're always kind of gently probing their general health also, because it does make a difference if somebody's smoking. It's not going to be the first thing we jump on, but at some point in the interview, I'm going to be glad that I heard that because I'm going to want to talk to them about, how smoking's aging your skin dramatically, and let's talk about that too. So yeah, you do. We try to get a lot more detail than just what lesion is it. It's what your lifestyle is like.
Do a lot of this might seem like a silly question, but do a lot of people in Sonoma drink a lot of wine?
They have to. It's required.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of wine drinking.
Yes.
We do
Right.
have to tell our injectable patients or request them to not have a glass of wine the night before.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. I don't blame them. But eh, I can imagine that has to do somewhat with some of the conditions. I
Yeah,
don't know. Potentially, there's a link.
yeah,
You're the
a little
MD.
bit.
Yeah, I think so.
What differentiates you guys, as you've seen? There's other med spas in your community. What has differentiated you guys from other med spas, in your opinion,
I think having
besides advertising?
Yeah, I think having a really solid team makes a world of difference. Um, Having Sam, our manager, she's also family. She's your daughter and my stepdaughter, but she's been great. And also just being in the community, like getting out there, having your face forward.
Remember, you went to a clinic because we were trying to learn how they were doing intake, and you went and you had a procedure done, and it was a sterile environment at the desk. The receptionist didn't know too much about the treatment, but she knew all about the pricing. And the therapist knew all about the treatment, but didn't know anything about the pricing or the other services. So they're very siloed, compartmentalized, and pretty cold. They were
Yeah.
friendly. I wish you could see our front desk at work when people are coming in, because it's people come through the door like it's their friends, and they're always coming in. We had one just bring a big box of bagels, and people are always bringing a bottle of wine. Sam knows all their kids, so it's very yeah. They're like it's our friends really. The patients become friends very quickly, and a lot of that is just we've got amazing receptionists and great staff,
Yeah.
and they're big parts of the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys are very big on two things, from what I remember with my conversation with Sam. You guys are huge on training and you're huge on processes. So let's share a little bit more on those two things, because I do think from my previous conversation in a previous episode with Dr. Kabir, who's has a chiropractic and aesthetics practice, we talked about, and in the episode we did before that, it's the same theme: congruence and standardization, and having the same, a similar at least approach, standardized approach of how you did a consultations, how you prescribe treatment plans, follow-ups, all these different things, just to make your business more congruent, more aligned, more efficient, and making sure that you are measuring things. So let's talk about that a little bit, because that's something that I know Sam was very big on.
And that's kind of your
Yeah,
wheelhouse, right?
process. Well, we do lots of training. So probably twice a month we have somebody in here teaching a new program, radius injection or the new skin Vive injections of neurotoxin. But they will come to our clinic because, they're trying to sell us a product. So they're happy to come in with these really top level trainers, which I love because we have several nurses and we bring them in every chance we can on every one of these trainings. There's always something new out there. So, and we're happy to do them. Some people find it, kind of a inconvenience and it gobbles up a lot of time. You could be seeing patients, but we do it. We like doing it. Patients like it too because they get a bunch of free treatments out of it. So
And you always pick up pearls that you didn't think about, even on a topic that you thought you knew so much about. So I think
Yeah.
that's huge for us.
And we are pretty standardized in our safety approaches. When it comes down to the actual procedure, Gina does her fillers injections different than I do them, and our nurses do them a little bit differently each. So you let people cater to whatever their skills are. Gina's great at facial mapping and the whole architectural lines and the different convergence points. I do it more from a stand back and look at them and do a little treatment and adjust a little here and there. So mine's a little more organic. I wouldn't do very well just putting lines on the face, and she doesn't do very well with the organic. So, and some of our nurses, same thing. They've got little ways that they do things, and we let them do it. I mean, if it's safe and it's effective, they don't have to do exactly the same process.
What would you recommend for me? Anything?
No, you're perfect. You got it all done. I think
Right.
you're pretty good. Brotox? Is that what they call it?
None.
Really?
Nothing.
Wow.
Nothing? No.
Impressive.
You're
Nothing.
Good genes.
doing fine. Keep using that sunscreen.
Polish genetics.
Yeah. Blame your mom.
Coconut oil. I know.
Yeah.
Guys, let's talk about, this recent year that we've had. We've like I said, we switched from body sculpting and facial aesthetics. You guys have found a really sweet spot of being able to expose these new patients to your front desk, which is really welcoming, then to your estheticians, then to your injectors, and then to both of you as well. And you've doubled the size of your business, right? So I know we've been able to drive a lot of new traffic in your doors, but if you can't sell them, you can't keep them, right? So if you can't sell them or on your services, you're not going to retain them. So I want to learn a little bit more. I know that follow-up calls have been huge, so we can maybe revisit that a little bit more. But I want to know what else has been, driving the success. Like, is it the treatment plans? Is it the cross sells? What's going on? I want to, I'm just excited by the numbers. So I want to know. I think tell me.
Sales, probably.
Yeah, there's a ton of cross sales.
Yeah.
People
Spill the beans, guys.
Well,
I want to know it all.
people come back. I mean, if you break it down into different areas, our neurotoxins, we kind of twist around on the wind there for a couple of years to try and get it right. And sometimes we're dropping brows and causing a droopy lid, and then we're not treating enough, and they're coming back with their wrinkles still there. And it took a while to really
The early years.
It took a while to get really dialed in on how to do that. And we go in and watch each other do treatments. If you're really good at doing crow's feet, I want to watch her do it. And if I'm doing something else that's great, she watches me. So first of all, I make sure that their treatments are really good. And same thing with fillers. You gotta listen to the patient, take your time, do a really good job. And then equipment wise, we've had a couple of different machines that we've had in here that I wasn't convinced were effective. And I can't sell something if I don't believe in it. I just don't have that salesman skill where I can sell an ice cube to an Eskimo. I can't do it. So if the stuff's not working, we tend to get rid of it and we just stop using it. So we bring in new things frequently. And like this latest one, the multifracts, I love it. So patients come in and they can see it on my face when I'm talking to them about it. They get excited because I'm excited and they want it. So yeah, I think it's a lot of it, right? You believe in what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've kind of vetted all of our machines now. We're in a really good spot. We got rid of a couple that were kind of just limping along, and now we've got almost.
How do you guys handle when Kyle, when you're excited and the client is not? Let's just say client is not. They're not resonating the energy that you are, and maybe they just need a lot more convincing, a lot more educating, a lot more comfort. They just have that distrust. How do you guys handle people who say no?
We go with it. So and I talk to them all the time. I will tell patients frequently, this is cosmetic. This is not a requirement. You don't have appendicitis where you got to rush to the operating room. This is completely optional thing. And I notice a lot of times when I back off a little bit and I'm not pressuring them, they relax and they're like, oh, okay, you're not just trying to sell me something here. You understand it's just a wrinkle. So, yeah, I think we don't tell somebody that they got to have this. Your husband's not going to love you if you don't make your face look prettier.
Yeah.
Stupid things like that. You don't do that. So you just go with what their feelings are, and if
Kyle, have you
they
told
like
somebody that in the past and then you learned your lesson?
the slap still stings. It still so, but yeah, I think you just kind of you follow them, and we don't hard sell anything really. You got to buy it today because it's gone tomorrow. We don't do that at all.
Yeah, we try to be low pressure. And I think that makes the patient relax and then they feel like they can trust you better. And two, sometimes we say no. Sometimes we have somebody that comes in and we're like, mm-mm. If they're really obstinate and they're just difficult, we're not desperate. We don't need to take everybody that
That's a
comes in.
nice thing of being an
Hmm.
established business. At the beginning, starting businesses, people will tend to just try to hang on to every client that comes through the door because their startup money is dwindling away and they're getting desperate and they really want to hang on to everybody. And that's kind of the nice thing once you're established and moving. You can
Be
kind of look
selective.
patients over and realize like no matter what I do, you're not going to be happy. So let's just not start.
Hmm.
So once in a while that happens. It's not very often, but
It's
but there are occasional
rare.
people where you realize from the very beginning that this is just not going to be a good relationship, and you try to close it out quickly.
So what do you guys treat as like a success metric from, for example, us sending you consults? Is it at least set up another visit? Is it at least a $500 upsell? Is it what is it? What do you guys where do you see that? Because and then my second question, which I'm gonna actually make it my first, is what is your average client worth to you across a span of a year? I do believe we talked about that with Sam, but I would like to hear that number again because I think just dividing your revenue by a number of your clients will should give you that number as well.
That's that Sam does those numbers all the time. She's the ROI queen. She knows the return on everything that we do. It would be very different depending on what the procedure is. Some are really high revenue and take very little time, which the laser type of treatments. And then others take a whole lot of time, but there's a pretty high cost of goods, fillers, patients. But an individual patient is probably treatment wise around $1,000 a treatment.
A treatment? Like, are we also blending the
With
esthetician patients
products and their follow up care, maybe.
per year?
I would say that's a lot per treatment,
I think so.
but they come back, right? And
Yeah, that's kind of I guess that's what I'm kind of calculating into
Yeah.
it, their completion of whatever they're doing. So if they're getting an IPL treatment and there's 3 rounds
Mhm.
to complete the whole thing, whatever that comes out to, 1,500, something like that. And then they're going to buy some products, so around 2,000 for that full completed treatment.
yeah,
And then, yeah, you're right. And then if you look on an annual basis, a neurotoxin patient would probably be a similar amount annually.
Yeah, probably closer to like 2,000, 2,500 per year if they keep up every quarter. And the esthetician patients, some don't cross over to medical and their amounts are lower, but they do the upsell is really, really good with the estheticians. They're very, very good at that.
Nobody goes out here without some products. They are amazing.
gotcha. But you guys do a really good job also of retaining clients year over year, right? And building that large customer base. Um, and I know Sam does a really good job with nurturing your existing client base as
Mhm.
well. Um,
We have a in-house loyalty point program as well. So every dollar they spend goes toward like a bank, and then they get some freebie associated with that. And they don't have to pay in. It's not like a membership fee. They just automatically get that if they sign up for it. It's through our POS system. But they get like a free B shot or a lash tint or something like that. And even that little tiny thing that's really nothing to us is huge to them. And then they may be incentivized to just spend a little bit more to get to the next tier. So we find that that does help a little bit too.
And just organically, we're talking while we're doing the treatment. If I'm doing a laser treatment for solar lentigines, the conversation is going to come up about their crow's feet at some point too. So they're going to end up probably using a neurotoxin too. And when we're doing the neurotoxin treatment, she might ask something about something she could do to make her lips more full, and then we moved on to fillers.
Mm-hmm.
So most patients do more than one treatment. It's not one shot of Botox and we never see them again. They're always coming back for something else.
Yeah. And I know that, like you said, going back to your gal Sam, she's great at keeping track of that, making sure that you guys are meeting your goals, your KPIs and stuff like that. Let's talk about some goals. Like, what's the big plan for this year? You guys, we doubled in 12 months. I mean, what's next?
Well, I would like to maybe branch out and even to another area that I used to work in, because I have a following from another community about an hour away, and people drive to see me here. They really want me to see them there. So I'm doing like 1 day a month out there, and who knows, just planting the seed, and maybe it'll grow into like another, satellite office.
Nutritional counseling, you do a lot
As
of
far as
that.
services
Nutritional
go,
health.
yeah, we'd like to get into bioidentical hormones. I used to practice that before a few years ago, and I want to get back into it. And then
Longevity.
peptides, yeah,
Everybody's interested in
longevity,
longevity, and everybody wants to live longer, and health span and lifespan and health span together.
anti-aging.
But yeah, we're starting to roll into peptides. I think what we do is we sort of listen to our customers, all of our clients, and if somebody asks me I get 5 different people asking me if I administered NAD plus, then I'm just going to go learn about that and probably start doing that. That's what happened with GLP-1s. So
Yeah.
the tirzepatide and semaglutide, we weren't doing them, and then all of a sudden we were, because everybody wanted it. So we just rolled into it. So that's probably where we're going next, is peptides and nutritional, more well-rounded counseling.
Beautiful. Let's talk about summarize this a little bit and talk about some of the key success pieces of advice that you guys would say that helped you to grow, to almost $3 million here pretty soon, in the last few years. Um, I think, to me, you guys obviously have an amazing client. You've taken the volume of patients. You decided to advertise, which is a big thing, right? Like, you wanted to get in front of more people. And I think exposure is huge. And you can only do so much within your community, and you only have so much time. So you're trading time with money and opportunity cost of that.
Mhm.
So what kind of 3 key pieces of advice you have for other entrepreneurs like you to be able to scale their businesses? What 3 things really come to mind, that have made the biggest impact for you guys? And I know we talked a lot about, but I just want to bring it full circle.
Keep your clients happy. Doesn't matter what you have to do. Make sure that whatever treatment you're doing, don't throw your hands up in the air and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, there's just nothing we can do for you." You got to keep trying, keep bringing them back. If something's not looking right, they don't like the way their neurotoxin looks, well, bring them back in. And if I think I didn't do a great job, I'm not even going to charge them. They're going to get a free touch up, and I'm going to keep working it until it looks perfect. Or if I do a laser treatment and that spot didn't lighten up the way I thought it would, I'm going to give them free treatments until it looks great. So I
Yeah,
think
for
that's
sure.
very important, is make sure that whoever you're treating is really happy, and keep them close. And that's Sam's thing. Call them up, get those follow-ups. If you're having a special or anything going on, get in touch with them personally, call them up or text them, and get to know their kids. Keep your clients like friends. That's 2. I don't know. You
Hmm.
probably got a few other. Those are the 2 that I've noticed make the biggest difference for me.
I got to think about that. Um, yeah, that I would agree with you there. That makes sense.
Yeah, the
Um,
callbacks and follow-ups are pretty key,
yeah.
because not only do they like it, but it it sometimes will keep you out of hot water. If somebody's upset and something's not going right, if I do a laser treatment or refracts and Sam calls them up and they say, well, I got this scaly patch on my cheek. Like, well, come back in here. I'll take a look at it. And well, maybe they got a really early skin infection and I can just give them a dab of topical antibiotic, Bactroban or something, and it's cured and gone. But if they sit at home and ruminate about it and they get angry and keep picking at it, they'll come back in 3 weeks later with a scar that could have been completely prevented. So you keep your patients really close.
What do you think, Gina?
And listen to them. And listen to them. Like sometimes it may be, tempting to think whatever bothers them is just like such a minuscule little thing that you don't notice it doesn't bother you. But make sure you really listen to what bothers them. That's so important because that's why they're there. And do what you can to try to fix that problem. Or if you can't, refer them to somebody who can. I think that is also, they respect you. If there's something that you can't fix for them, you send them to somebody who can. And they also then trust you more because you're not just trying to sell them something just to put a, Band-Aid approach on it. But we're pretty good at the referral process if need be.
Maybe a third thing was staying fresh. It's such cosmetics is a really fast moving world. You think you've learned everything about Botox, and then all of a sudden there's Dysport, and then there's Jeuveau, and then Daxi shows up, and Xeomin, and all of a sudden you're behind the curve, and people are asking you questions about things you can't answer, and they're going to lose confidence in you. So you really got to stay on top of things. And if you've got an old school laser that's not broadband, for instance, everybody else knows what BBL is, and if they're coming and asking for that and you don't have it, then they're gonna move on. So you got to stay fresh, and it's hard. You spend all this money for these machines, and then a year later it's obsolete. But that's just the way it is. You got to keep moving.
And I would add a touch point from Sam, who's your I don't even know what her role is. She's wears many hats within your business, but she's great, and advertise to new clients and advertise to your existing clients, right? Don't forget about them as well. So I know you guys have done a really good job of investing in marketing with my agency, but also doing a great job of doing in-house marketing to stay in front of your clients, educate them, send them promotions, send them news, inform them about all the new things that you guys have going on. So I like to just shake things up at the end here as we wrap up this podcast, guys. It's been really awesome and informative. And so you guys, obviously we're going to keep growing. That's a big thing. Do we have a revenue goal in mind for 2025?
We don't really run that way. It's kind of funny. We have a general idea of whether we're growing or shrinking, and that's about it. But we don't have a particular target that we're shooting for.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't usually get that, but I appreciate it. I mean, you've doubled over the course of a year. I mean, something's working.
I think it's kind of funny. If we spend more time focusing on just doing a great job, it seems to just happen. At the beginning of the business, when we were focused all on the ratios and the dollars and nickels and our balance sheet and P&Ls, it didn't seem to grow much then because I was, wasting too much time on financial stuff and not spending enough time on just working on the, good quality care. I don't know, maybe we're a little weird that way, but yeah, we don't have a really great 5-year projection. We just know, bigger.
Very good.
Yeah.
So something completely irrelevant, guys. Favorite, what's your favorite junk food or your pleasure food?
Oh, I know that, right?
What's yours?
That'd be a Snickers bar.
Oh,
Gina?
probably there's a salted caramel ice cream that I like at a local shop here, and I make a salted caramel malt. It's like good.
Can I change my answer?
Yeah, there is. I know. It's good, isn't it?
Guys,
Yeah.
where can people find you if they want to network with you, if they want to come check out your spa, or you know, just to mastermind a little bit? Where can people find you online?
Website.
Call us or online.
Yeah.
Yeah, just our company, SonomaMD.com.
And Sonoma is like William Sonoma. So SONOMA and then MD like medicaldoctor.com. Super easy.
And then there's a phone number there if you want to call up and ask for Samantha. She likes talking. She'll talk to you.
Guys, really appreciate you guys hopping on today. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to benefit from what you had to say. Congratulations on all the success, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
That's fun.
Makes us think more about our business. I appreciate that.